morning, everyone. We officially have quorum, so we will go ahead and kick off this morning's meeting for the Citizens Advisory Board. And with that, we will launch straight into roll call.
Leslie Nesmith, present.
Erin Engelkey, present.
Hannah Royce, present.
June Elkins Baker, present.
Great. All right. Let's say the Pledge of Allegiance. Stand, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Wonderful. Okay, well, notice of this meeting was properly posted on February 6th, 2023. The first item on the agenda is public comment. I don't believe that we have anyone here to formally address the CAB, so we will move right into discussion and possible action to approve meeting minutes of the January 11th, 2023 Citizens Advisory Board meeting. Does anyone have any discussion about the minutes? We have a motion to approve and a second. Great. All right. 4 yeses, 0 nos. It's approved. All right. We will move now into agenda item number 3, discussion and possible action regarding the monthly report and current data pertaining to the Oklahoma County Detention Center from Interim Director Brandy Gardner. Welcome, Brandy.
Good morning. So during this update, there are a couple of things that I'm going to cover. First and foremost, I do want to acknowledge that we did have a detainee death. Isaiah Mitchell was found in his cell by a detention officer conducting side checks. The officer immediately began CPR and called for medical. IMSA and Oklahoma City Fire responded and continued those life-saving efforts to the hospital. However, he passed away at the hospital. We are currently reviewing the incident, and we may make changes based on what the review tells us, changes to our processes and procedures, whatnot. There were no signs upon intake that he was suicidal. We've reviewed all of the intake paperwork, the questionnaire, the brief mental health screen, and none of that indicated that he had any kind of suicidal ideations. We believe his suicide did take place just a short time after an officer performed a welfare check on him. And that's pretty much all I have at this time on that situation. I'm also going to cover our medical OR bond process and what's going on with that, and share some operational statistics. And then I wanted to introduce our new Chief of Operations, Tony Towery. He's not in attendance today because he's taking care of some things at the jail. Hopefully you will have a chance to meet him. So I'm going to start by briefly just touching on the budget. As you can see by this slide, our outlook is a $1.6 million deficit. The board did approve expenses of approximately $3.2 million the other day. And if I'm looking at a $1.6 million deficit and a $3.2 million in expenses just January alone, it's obviously a grave concern to me. It's of vital importance to the Oklahoma City or Oklahoma County taxpayers that I really look at this and get to the bottom of why this is. I'm currently awaiting the county to release our approved ARPA reimbursement funds of $1.1 million, which could ease this burden. But I have an obligation as the CEO of the trust to ensure the good stewardship of taxpayer dollars. I'll review our vendor contracts. I'll ensure that what we're receiving is of good value. And next month, I'll give a more in-depth report once I have a chance to really wrap my arms around it and see what's what. Our employee update, we did have 5 new employees that began the Detention Academy on January 23rd. We are continuing our ongoing recruitment efforts. We have a lot of websites that we've posted on, social media, and we have some plans to really increase our recruiting efforts in the future. Can't talk more about that yet, but I'm really excited for the possibilities. We do have 292 employees. That's down significantly from where we were before. For the month, we had 5 employees were terminated for a good cause, 15 resigned, and 2 retired. And things are looking up for the next academy, which is on the 27th of February. We have approximately 45 prospective employees. Now, it's of course contingent on them passing the background check and going through the entire process of hiring. But I'm hopeful that we'll retain most of those as actual cadets. Our medical OR bond program is going well. Are y'all all familiar with the medical OR process? Okay. This is just a program where it's ultimately up to the judge whether or not we can release the individual, but we are certainly trying to identify those that are most at risk of deteriorating while they're in custody. So far in January, we requested 30 and 19 were approved. I'll go to I'm just going to briefly touch on a few of the people that we are currently seeing in custody that we're requesting medical ORs on. I think it's important that everybody recognize how gravely ill these people are and the constraints with them we're working with to try to get them released. Sometimes it's extremely challenging based on their charges. The first individual that we're dealing with is a middle-aged male, and he has lower extremity redness and open stasis pre-existing wounds. Those ulcers are due to abnormal vein function, typically caused by high-pressure veins in the lower leg. The veins have one-way valves that keep blood from flowing up toward your heart. And when these become weak, scarred, or blocked, blood can flow backwards and pull into your legs. Not only this, but the patient is also HIV positive and hepatitis C positive. He's also refusing medication and care for his wounds. And that's not really a situation that you want to be in when you're in a communal facility like the jail. The MD has recommended medical OR. However, he has a serious criminal history and his current charges are very likely to result in denial. He has been hospitalized recently and he is at high risk of dying while he's in custody. The second individual I want to talk about is an elderly male. He's had a recent hospital stay for acute respiratory failure, pneumonia, sepsis. He required ICU with intubation, ventilation, and vasopressor support. He's currently on an oxygen concentrator with diminished lung sounds. He's frail and highly susceptible to rapid decline. The medical OR has been denied due to his significant violent charges and his criminal history. He's also at high risk of dying while he's in our care. And the third individual is also an elderly, frail male with multiple advanced medical conditions. He's had multiple visits to the ER for decreased mental status. He has a history of stroke and transient ischemic attacks. He also has severe hypertension that is only partially controlled by medication. Most significantly, he does have dementia. And symptoms include forgetfulness, limited social skills, and thinking abilities so impaired it interferes with his daily functioning. He has serious charges. We have submitted a medical OR. We're waiting to see if it is going to be approved, but due to his condition, and I think it's important to know that he is also at risk of dying while he's in our custody. These are just 3 individuals who have significant health concerns who may deteriorate while in custody, and there are many others who we have been able to successfully get released back into the community under supervision and with the resources to manage their health conditions. I wanted to present these 3 to inform you and the public of the challenges we are faced with in caring for our population. I also did want to thank the DA's office, judges, public defenders, and then the multiple community resources who have really embraced this program and helped us get these individuals into proper care. Just some operational statistics. We released 1,877 people in January, and we booked in 1,863. It was an average of 58 bookings per day. We saw an average of 1,549 for the month, and compared to this time last year, which was 1,718, we are down more than 150 detainees on average, and I think that's a really promising number. The morning of Monday morning, our population was 1,500. And these are different statistics that I thought were really interesting to bring forward. This is just talking about our admission statistics. Our male population does make up 88% of our population, and females are only 12%. When we look at age, the majority of females are between 30 and 39 years old. 67% of them, in fact, fall between 18 and 39. The majority of males are between 18 and 29. 59% are between 18 and 39. I also want to point out that 4% of our population are between 60 and 69. So that's a pretty significant number of people that are elderly. Our admission statistics. The overall length of stay of a detainee is just about 7 days. Someone with felony charges stays just more than 8 days, and someone with misdemeanor charges is just under 6 days. If you look at the recidivism, 78% of our female population has been in our jail before, and 82% of the male population has been in our jail as well before. The vast majority of the people in our jail have been in there before. There are a lot of statistics that we can pull. If there's something specific that you would like to see, feel free to reach out to me and let me know, and I'd be happy to present them. This is our new Chief of Operations. His name is Tony Towery. He has over 25 years of law enforcement experience, and he began his career at the jail in 1995, so he's kind of come full circle. He says that there's a lot of things that have not changed. Found that an interesting comment. A majority of his career has been spent at Moore Police Department, and he brings a wealth of experience and knowledge to our leadership team. I'm very happy to have him, and I just wanted to make sure that you are aware that he's there and he's on duty. We did have a situation with one of our officers where Turnkey did save one of my officers' lives. They noticed that he wasn't feeling well, and they urged him to go to the hospital. Not only that, but one of their staff members transported him. During transport, he did lose consciousness. They got him to the ER, and they ended up helping him regain consciousness, but they ended up putting him in a medically induced coma. He was in the hospital for several days, and he finally recovered. And had it not been for Turnkey and their care and concern for the people that are there, could have had a negative outcome. And that's all my report. You guys have any questions I can answer for you?
Well, I first want to publicly acknowledge how incredibly thorough your reports continue to be. I love the additions of the data. I think that's so helpful for us as we sit here and look at ways to support you and your team. And so I just appreciate also the care and concern that you clearly have for the staff and for the detainees. I appreciate you going into the details about some of the medical situations. I just think it paints a very real picture of what, you and your team are facing every single day. I am curious to know on the statistics related to this average stay.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the norm? Like, in terms of you have experience in other detention centers, so is the stay the norm, or are we above, below?
I would say it's hard to say on the felony side of things because we do have people that are facing very serious charges and they factor into that. And some of them have been in there for over 1,000 days. On the misdemeanor side of things, it does appear that it's a little bit longer than what I'm used to and what I'm comfortable with. Typically, it was somewhere around 3 to 4 days. Because every day that they're in custody, especially on lower level charges, I start looking at, what are they missing out on? Are they losing their jobs? Are they losing their, their homes and their livelihood? Them in a situation where they are forced to make tough decisions that may result in further criminality. So,
Okay, thank you for that.
you're welcome.
Any other comments or questions for Randy?
I just wanted to second and agree, and thank you for all your detailed work in these reports. Not only the medical and the deaths aspect of that, but the budget as well, right?
Mhm.
I know that we're looking at, you know, how this jail, what the revenue streams are for it, and how we can potentially rely less on the folks who are inside that facility to be the main source of revenue. So that brings me to I know you're working on contracts and all of those things. Are we renewing a phone contract soon? Do we know what that?
So just as with any of the contracts, I'm currently going through them just to see exactly what it is. Are we getting the value for the money that we're spending? I will be looking at other vendors at some point just to see if there's more competitive pricing out there, and then we can get a bigger bang for our buck.
Awesome. I appreciate that, and I know that everyone here is probably in agreement that we want to get phone calls and prioritize those in whatever ways we can, and then not be seeing a deficit for you and your staff in trying to just pay bills. So
Right.
I appreciate, you know, all the hard work you've done with budget board members, and those P&G meetings are not fun, but I pop into them and watch them sometimes. So I just know that that's not an easy task, and I commend you for it. So thanks, Major Garner.
Thank you.
I just want to echo those comments as well. We really appreciate you stepping up and taking this on. I know it's not an easy task at all.
Thank you very much.
I have to ditto.
Okay. Thank you all.
Thank you so much. Okay. If I could have a motion and a second to approve the report from
Sent
Director
in my
Brandy.
motion.
Great. Thank you. All those in favor? Wonderful. And so it passes. Okay, the next item on the agenda is one with a lot of good content, I feel like. The discussion and possible action regarding focus group discussions with individuals at the detention center. And I know that I have that report. I had the opportunity to share that with the jail trust on Monday, but quite frankly, I would like June to share that report just because she was the one that was present, one of the three CAB members that was present for that focus group. I'm happy to fill in wherever needed, June. So
It was really interesting. We met with the women first, and one of the things that kept coming up was the handbook. They talk about a handbook, but then there's no handbook. They talked also about their shoes and sheets, that their shoes and sheets had been taken. Not everyone was fishing, but everybody got punished. They used a tablet, but it's only 10, so they have to rotate. It was interesting because they talked about some good stuff, and because they talked about how staff, there's some staff that are amazing, just like in any place you work. And then some staff, they have a difficulty separating, but they talked about how that they've been there, maybe some of them, a year and a half. And that, I thank you for what you said, because I guess it does go off of the charges or whatever that causes that to happen. This is what they said. Alfred says some care, some don't. But then they said that's definitely some do. They want to be referred to as a name and not a number. And they talked about just, bed bugs, roaches, and mice, and that they've asked about it, but it just depends. And they said that the cooking for inmate, I guess they just get rice and beans, and they'd like to have something different. And they acknowledge the fact that if you're trying to fight a case, you're going to be in there a longer amount of time. They told us about the change day. They were really delighted that we were there. It was amazing to sit with them in that area and nothing between us, and for us really to relate to them, the men and the women. And they both of them seemed to really get off to that. I mean, they were more than willing to come in and talk to us and be honest. They also talked about how they work with each other in order to give each other the information that is necessary. The staff that took us in was amazing. And so I do have to say that they were really amazing. They were very helpful, very warm to us. I had never been in the jail, so that was totally different for me. And I was trying to keep from asking questions. I'm sure I look wide-eyed. The male said that they haven't read their orientation book, but the one person that did read it, he said it needs to be broken down better so that they can understand. And that makes a lot of sense because not everybody's going to have the same reading or comprehension level. And so they talked about the orientation that was done the old way. And I don't know what that means, but they said that they liked it the old way. So I don't know if the old way was more intense. I don't know. That's just what they said. Mental health is good. This is the guys. They have no school. They have no GEDs, and they also said they have no sheets. They said they need more programs. Both of them. They said there's nothing to do, and they need more programs. They do. They showed us the video with the headset that they do. That's right there on the wall, where they have their conversations. They said calls should be every day, but they maybe don't get them every day. They said they don't get mail every day, and they had the same thing with some of the infestation. They said they go out at least every day. Well, they go out at least every other day, if not every day, which was different than the women because the women said that they did not go. So I thought that that was a little different. If you have mental health issues that is unchecked, it isn't safe for those who don't. So in other words, they're saying if you have a mental health issue and no one has come to diagnose it or let you know, then that puts everybody at jeopardy. So I thought that was a good point. Good things most days. Um, so that's pretty much what I got. I know he typed it up with Reverend Douglas too, but that.
Yeah, no, that was great. That was actually a little bit of more of a perspective than even what I had in the report from Chris, which I think is so valuable.
It was humbling to be in there with them. It was humbling, and I think from us they could tell that.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that, I mean, it was a great experience. I am so glad that I had it.
Good, good. I'm so glad you were able to be present for that and to learn from these men and women. And honestly, what really kind of takes me back from what you just shared is how much the women want to be known as a name and not a number.
Right.
Like, what a simple thing.
And I thought that it was really amazing. And I'm sorry I digress, but I thought it was really amazing when you talked about the inmate death. I thought it was really amazing that you turned around and you said his name.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know, I think something as simple as that,
Yeah.
for those who love somebody, is
Yeah.
very important. And for me to know who I am, because when you do away with my name, you do away with who I am, and you make me like everybody else. So that did make a lot of sense.
Yeah. Wonderful. Any thoughts or questions for June? Personally, I'm a little bit intrigued to see this handbook. I don't know if that's something that we could perhaps see. Okay. I think that would be beneficial. Is it on the website? Okay. Okay, perfect. Thank you. It is on the website for public acknowledgement. Perhaps I should have known that. I apologize. But yeah, I think that that's something that I certainly want to review. So, okay. Well, thank you again so much, June. And I don't know that we need to approve that, Lynn. Do we? The report? A motion to accept the report? Okay. Absolutely. Great. Okay. If I could get a motion and a second to approve the report from the focus
Motion?
group. Great.
Oh.
Wonderful. All those in favor? All right. It so passes. All right, agenda item number 5 is the discussion and possible action regarding a report from the Recruitment and Retention of Staff Subcommittee. The chair of that subcommittee is not here today. I do serve on that committee, so I'm happy to provide a summary of the discussions that were had at that last meeting, and it principally surrounded the topic of recruitment of staff. Pastor Douglas spent quite a bit of time just really emphasizing the opportunities that exist in the community for us to almost create like fairs. He referenced the employee recruitment fair at Ebenezer Baptist Church and the success of that several months ago. And so we really fleshed out a plan and identified some individuals and organizations that we could potentially partner with to host these. We would be willing to even help attend these recruitment fairs just to kind of load lift a little bit for the staff at the jail as well. So that really was the primary outcome of that meeting. We're very excited about that. I know that I have a number of things on my own to-do list to support that. So any additional comments for those that were present? No?
Can I ask
Yeah.
something? Because when I think about, and I've been thinking about this for a while, recruitment and retention, I know that when we go through processes to where we've had within our systems things that have not always followed the line of what we want the agency or the facility to be represented as far as are we going to have like trainers that are going to be able to come in and be some consistency of trainers? Because I just think about some of the things that have been worked on initially have been more external and not a lot of, and that's the show enough, get to the meat of it when you start trying to figure out how to educate and bring those who have been here for a while and you don't want to lose, how to bring them forward to the new vision now, and how to make sure that the ones that are coming in are getting the new vision and then have someone to help them to keep that vision. Am I making sense?
Yes, absolutely.
I think that's huge because it doesn't do any good to do all this recruitment and it's nothing has changed in that area. I know I deal with it, but I just wondered if that's something.
Yeah. So as Major Garner had identified, the new COO, Tony, I had the opportunity to visit with him after the jail trust meeting on Monday and was very, very impressed with him, his leadership style. He has a master's in strategic leadership. And the very first thing that he said was, we need to, basically change the culture and begin with internal trainings and characters and values and all of that. And so he did even identify that one of the things that he and Major Garner have been working on are an inclusive process to revamp the mission statement and their values and purpose and allow the staff to be a part of that process, which is so brilliant and so right. And so I think that, I certainly don't want to speak for Major Garner, but certainly feel as though that is the sentiment across the leadership, is to pour into the staff in the right way to shift the culture. That change management piece is very hard. It is slow. It is tedious, but it has to begin, right? So to your point, as we're going out and recruiting all these new staff, they're entering into a culture that is conducive to where the jail wants to go. So, yeah. Okay. If I could get a motion and second to approve the report from the Recruitment and Retention of Staff Subcommittee. All those in favor? All right. Matter passes. Moving on. Agenda item number 6, the discussion and possible action regarding a report from the Policies and Procedures Subcommittee. Is anyone on that subcommittee that is here?
I am, and I will be, I guess, presuming the role of chair as our lovely Stephen Buck has left us. I'm sad, but excited for him on the jail trust. Do you need acting chair? Yes, absolutely. And I just meant in this instance too to speak on his behalf. So we did have a follow-up that we've been meaning and intending to send to Major Garner on some questions that did come up. Actually, the first one being regarding the detainee handbook. One of our first instances of kind of change there was changing the handbook to be called detainee versus inmate. So I believe, I can send this on to you after I've read them aloud here later today, and then as CAB members have had the time and space to look over the detainee handbook as well online, we can send other edits or things to one another or to Major Garner there. So to expand references, our second thing was to expand references to spiritual material and to ensure those are more faith inclusive. So we want to ensure that in the handbook itself, it's not exclusively Christianity that's referencing. You have permission to get texts for and that sort of thing. And in addition to those recommendations, our committee was requesting feedback on 3 specific items that we would want to consider in our February committee meeting. Those items were 1, the cost per day of detention. So just kind of the average rate per person per day per detention. And I think I brought this up because we kind of know that rate per day per detention, but not even for those the book-in part. I don't know if that's being calculated into, but we want to know that all of that, all of the staff, like every time a detainee and a staff meet, we're counting those so that things like contracts with other municipalities, we're aware of how many people those municipalities are bringing to the facility and ensuring that hopefully they are giving our detainees or our detention center what they need. What written language versions of the detainee handbook? We were aware of the English version, so we wanted to ask if the handbook was available in alternative languages, and to your point, perhaps different learning styles. 3, for a detainee with funds to pay for postage privileges beyond the core benefit available to all detainees. So what is the cost of postage, and is it available at the U.S. postage stated rate, or are there additional charges incurred? And those were Mr. Buck's words, and if you had anything else. Okay, was that it? Okay, perfect, because he said, you took better notes than me. I'm like, you take better. I don't. We all go round and round, but I think the policies and procedures subcommittee is going to start there because we know there's a myriad of policies and things we could dive into. So right now, those are the top on our list.
Wonderful. Any thoughts or questions for Hannah or June? I think it's a very comprehensive review so far. Love that. That's great. Okay. Need a motion to approve the report from the Policies and Procedures Subcommittee. Oh, audibly. Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Okay. And that passes. All right. Agenda item number 7, discussion and possible action regarding the final report of the Oklahoma County Criminal Justice Authority Action Committee and focus groups. As a reminder, these reports were received and accepted on September 20th, 2021 by the Oklahoma County Criminal Justice Authority. And so just again, as a reminder, these are the recommendations that were previously presented. Focus group recommendations specifically. So I don't think that there's like a formal action to be had here, but if anybody has any comments or things that they would like to specifically highlight and discuss from the prior recommendations, I will open up the floor to that now.
I know we haven't had a formal sort of response to these recommendations in a while since last year with Greg, and what he would do is kind of go through the recommendations and give an update on where we were. And I just wanted to note of my knowledge and what I know that you have dove into that direct supervision packet and done an amazing job at working to even what we're hearing in focus groups, that folks are getting out so much more, and we're getting some of that direct supervision. So I just wanted to note that I know we haven't had like a printed update, but I know personally that that is something that's happening more often, and I am just really, really grateful to hear it.
Great. Thank you, Hannah. Any other thoughts or feedback, questions? Okay, then we will move right along to agenda item number 8, discussion and possible action regarding our CAB recommendations to the Jail Trust. These recommendations were presented to the Jail Trust, I believe, last month. And this was a summary principally out of the Recruitment and Retention of Staff Subcommittee, the recommendations that came out of the staff survey, as well as recommendations that emerged from feedback out of the focus groups. I do know, just from my time presenting with the Jail Trust this week, that the Jail Trust is in continued conversation about those recommendations. I don't have any more specifics besides that, but I felt just, I guess, very encouraged to know that they are keeping those front and center, and that they will follow up with us once they have additional thoughts and feedback on next steps. Any questions or thoughts about this portion of the agenda? Okay. Do we need to approve that, Lynn? Good old Lynn. So grateful for her.
I'll
Okay.
motion to accept that.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Hannah. Great. All those in favor of that very brief update report? All those in favor? And it is approved. Okay. Next, as an announcement, our next scheduled meeting of the Oklahoma County Criminal Justice Authority Citizens Advisory Board is Wednesday, March the 8th at 9:30 a.m. in this room. I think there's anything else to be said about that. I know that I will not be here. I will be on a plane for spring break. So I will miss seeing all of you, but I will not be here.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll tell you later where I'm going. All right, so agenda item number 10, as a reminder and announcement of all of our subcommittee meetings. The next Policy and Procedures Subcommittee will be held Wednesday, February 15th at 2:15 p.m. The next scheduled meeting of the Operations Subcommittee will be Wednesday, February 15th at 2:30 p.m. Then the next scheduled meeting of the Recruitment and Retention of Staff Subcommittee will be Wednesday, February 22nd at 9:30 a.m. And finally, the next scheduled meeting of the Community Relationships Subcommittee will be Wednesday, February 22nd at 10:45 a.m. Are all of those accurate? Okay, I think so too. Yeah, same. Great. All right, well, we look forward to seeing everyone at those meetings, those subcommittee meetings. Any final comments before we adjourn?
I love that we're getting busy.
We are getting
I mean,
busy.
I really
The whole
do.
lot of
I don't
ladies
know.
getting busy.
I
I know I say it a lot.
I was going to
but-
say,
It's
go,
great.
go
I'm
women,
enjoying this.
go.
Thank you, everyone.
All
for
right,
your
well, if I
continued
could get
service.
a motion to adjourn. Great.
second.
All those in favor? So moved. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.